Hello everybody, we're sitting here in William E. Wood office in Norfolk. I'm very happy to be sitting with Dora Lee Taylor. We are with the Informed Entrepreneur, and last week, I believe, or a couple of weeks ago, the Excellence Award came out for the real estate industry. And Miss Dora Lee Taylor was one of the top realtors for listing and sales. And we figured that this would be a great time to talk to her and tell us what the secret of her success is. So I would like to introduce Ms. Dora Lee Taylor. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having us here today. We are really excited about what has been going on in real estate, and it seems like there's always the same names on top. So we wanted to talk to those names just because, as we spoke a little bit earlier, real estate seems to be the ticker of the U.S. economy. And what you guys do day in and day out has made this real estate story a little bit better over the last few years. And we just want to know what makes it so great for you. Because we know that the average realtor does from anywhere between 5 and 11 listings per year. And you have done many, many more than that. And consistently, from what, 1980s?
Yes.
That is an amazing career. So if you don't mind, would you tell us how you started, where you started, and how you gotten to this point?
Okay, I came into the business in 1987 from a federal government career. At the time, I was a realty specialist with the federal government, working with the Department of Commerce, and I was traveling a lot. I had an opportunity to go into real estate sales, and I decided that might be worth a shot. Went into it in, as I mentioned, 1987, part-time, and then became full-time about 6 months later, beginning of 1988. That's how I started. That's really just the beginning, and it was enticing. It was different. It was challenging. I was able to do a little bit more and not have the door closed like I did at my government office.
Right.
And the boss would walk by and say, "You're not on overtime," and close the door and tell me to go home. So it was a challenge. It was one I was accepting and looking forward to.
Did you enjoy being out compared to just being in the office?
Yes, I did. And meeting different people,
Right.
and having different situations, different problems to solve. It was not routine at all. It has never been routine.
What was the company that you started with, and why did you choose them? Because I know there's a wide array of companies out there, and everybody says that this one's better than this one, but everybody has a particular reason. What was the one that you chose?
I chose GSH. GSH is no longer in the business as an entity. It is merged with another company, but GSH at that time had the best training program, and their training was very important to me. They would put realtors, and those same realtors, many of them are still out there amongst those award winners because the training was excellent.
Right. Do you feel like that's something that has gotten you to this point just because you had such a great foundation?
I think it helped an awful lot.
Right.
Yes, I think coming to William E. Wood in 1996, for reasons of marketing changes at GSH, what drew a lot of people to William E. Wood because they had a very strong marketing department and still do. And the GSH had kind of fallen away from print media. And I think a lot of us decided that, coming to another good company with that basis of education that we had from GSH was the way to go.
Right. So you've been with William Wood for how many years now?
Let's see, 1996 is when I came here. I've been a realtor for about 26 years
Wow.
total. So I've been here since 1996.
So they've taken care of you really well.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure you've taken care of them as well. Just
That's
as
how
well.
it works in real estate, yes.
So tell me, a lot of people like to know what it takes to be successful. And amazingly enough, when we speak to business owners just like yourself, there always seem to be the same underlying reasons that people get to the level that they are. I'm sure that you have a schedule, that you keep a schedule. I'm sure that you're organized in some way. What would your particular week look like? Is it to the office at 9 and home at 5? Because, a lot of people don't know what it takes to be who you are.
Unfortunately, the schedule is imposed by the need and the circumstances of the day. So the most important thing is to stay in tune with what your client needs, and that might mean getting to the office at 9, or it might mean being at the office at 6:30 p.m. You do have to have some kind of an idea of what you need to do each day to accomplish your goals. So setting the goals is very important. Then being able to work with the client when they're available is the next important thing. So I honestly don't have, unfortunately I can tell you my schedule is usually doing emails up till 1 or 2 in the morning, and then starting again the next morning about 7. and then trying to keep up with everything in between. You know, I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah.
It's a busy job, and it is demanding, but it's also very rewarding.
The reason I asked that question is because I believe that, you know, obviously last 10 years have proven to be extremely different from one to another when it came to real estate. You had your 2004, 2005, 2006, that was just a ramp up of, it seemed like everybody was jumping into real estate. The stay-at-home moms were going to real estate classes and selling, and things were selling in a week or less. And I believe that one of the big misconceptions was that anybody can do it and it's extremely easy. You know, hearing you speak, it is all day, whenever it has to happen, because you are obviously helping people, you're changing their lives, you're putting them in places where you know it is their dream home. What is the one thing that you did, or do you remember maybe a day when it really clicked for you?
Well, I think maybe the first time a buyer bought his first home, and I can't remember exactly which person that was. I can remember the first sale I had as a listing, and I felt like, oh my gosh, I actually did it. It's just, there's something about being able to do whatever you can to help somebody else achieve their goals, because then you're achieving yours.
Yes.
And I guess that's, you know, the exact moment that happened, probably the first sale, the first buyer sale, the first listing sale is probably when it happened.
It's just the first time you felt like you deserved a hug.
Yes. Well, yeah, and exactly, or maybe I felt like I did it. You know, that feeling of accomplishment, and then the smiles on the faces of your clients. That's what rewarded you then.
Would you say that that's kind of what pushed you into wanting to do it more and wanting to help more people, and that's why you are where you are today?
Yes, you know, it is self-fulfilling. I mean, you work really hard. You know you're going to do very well, so you keep doing very well, so that you just keep it up, because you feel that obligation to yourself as well as to whomever you're going to represent.
Right.
So, yes.
And you know, one of the things, you've been in this business for a while, and you've always been one of the top performers. But we met you here today, and you are full of energy, and you're excited, and I'm sure your calendar is crazy full. How do you keep that up? I mean, it's amazing, because we do these interviews, and it's the same feeling of passion that whether somebody's 30, 50, 70, it's just you don't know the age. It's unbelievable the electricity that you give out. How do you keep that up?
You know, I don't really think about it, for one thing, but when you sit down for any moment longer than 5 minutes, you are realizing how fast you were going.
Right.
You don't realize it when you're doing it. You just keep going. It's just momentum, it builds, and I don't know the answer. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed. I guess I was born with a little bit of some kind of a fire under me.
Right. That's phenomenal. One of the things that we talked about, and you mentioned 2 different terms, listing and sale. A lot of people might not know the difference, but I understand there's a big difference even in the business model of the 2. Can you maybe go through that?
Well, briefly, when you are working with a seller, you're trying to sell a listing, which is their property. You're representing their interests. When you're working with a buyer, you're trying to connect them to a property, so you're representing the buyer's interest. You can actually do a little bit of both, and usually one leads to the other, because eventually your buyer will want to sell the home that they bought from you, and eventually the seller is going to want to buy a home to move to after they sell. So they're interconnected. A little bit of a different way to handle it, although you need to both, treat them both as if they were precious babies, and take care of them from the beginning to the end.
Would you say, we spoke a little bit about that before, that the costs are a little bit different, and maybe the selling arrangement, it takes a lot of time, because you got to spend the weekends, you got to spend the evenings, go to look at a lot of properties. Where listing, it's not as easy as it used to be, where you just post it and 20 people give offers. Today it might take a little bit more money to be able to put it on the MLS and all the networking, advertising, and sending it out. Do you see that being as a difference as well between the 2? Or?
Well, there is the money difference, but the one underlying same thing is that if you treat your seller like you treat your buyer, and dedicate your time and emotion to their needs, the listing will sell. If you do just the advertising and just the things you have to do to complete the listing, then it's not going to sell. You really have to treat it as if it is as equally important, or maybe even more so in some cases, as the buyer's activities that you also conduct.
Right. So the way I see it is, before we met, the listings were more passive and the sellers, the buyers were more active. But if you both move them both into the active side, you should be able to take care of both great.
Yes.
Is that about right?
Yes.
I love asking this question because I found that successful people are amazing in a way that they like to share. And that's unusual, because obviously you would be sharing with somebody that might be your competition, but it's just even for myself, I feel like if I can teach somebody the gift that I've been given, then maybe they can have as great of a life as I do. If there was a new agent that you really like and they were sitting in this office today, and you had a day to really kind of pour your heart out to them, what would be the things that you might share?
Well, first would be, you've got to care about what you're doing and about the client you're working with. That's very important. Put yourself in their position, realize what they're going through so that you can actually produce some results for them. Second would be to follow up everything you do, and do it consistently. And I guess third would be to network with everybody and anybody you know to try and help them reach that goal, help the buyer or the seller reach their goal.
Right. And I found also, and you mentioned it before, that maybe a lot of people that get into real estate don't see it as a true business, but you run it like a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
There's a business plan, there's an execution plan, marketing plan. Amazing enough, it's not a huge overhead that you have to have. You're lucky in a way because you don't have a factory and a whole bunch of workers, but you put just as much time. So maybe also the fact that they have to run it like you, and you run it as an extremely well-ran business.
Yes.
You are the CEO, CFO, CIO, and everything, aren't you?
Yeah, and you're the reason it either succeeds or fails. So
right.
Yes.
That person in the mirror is really tough, isn't she?
Yes.
Well, that's one of the best things about people like yourselves, is that self-motivation is all you need. You don't need anybody pushing you.
No, that's
Would
right.
you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I know that this kind of career comes with a lot of sacrifices. What would be the one thing that you can look back to and that you kind of say that was the hardest part?
Hardest part for me was in raising my son as a single mother. I was a new realtor at the time, and he was about 6 years old when I got in this business. It was hard for me to have to make a phone call at the end of the school day and just make sure he's home and off the bus, and while I was still at the office and couldn't get home yet. It was hard. Knowing that he could take care of himself was important. When he was about junior high is when he actually was able to go home off the bus, and I could call him and make sure he was there. But it was hard leaving him because I wanted to be that mother who was there with the cookies and the milk when he got in, and I wasn't able to do that. He's grown now. He's a wonderful father. I have a grandbaby named Hannah.
Oh my goodness.
And she's 2.5, and he's raising her with all the love you could imagine. So thank goodness, somehow he survived.
Well, I'm sure that he saw the work and the life that you wanted to give him, and I'm sure that he's transferring that to Hannah. That's a phenomenal story. Well, I really thank you for the time today. We wanted to put a spotlight on you just because we know how hard this work can be and how amazing the job you've done. So I hope that people can hear your story and get a little bit of a spark that you have, and be able to possibly have a successful life as you have. So with this, we'll conclude today, and I really want to thank you for your time. And hopefully our viewers are going to really enjoy your story.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Good meeting you.
So we're finished up, and I hope that everybody enjoys it. Have a great day.